girls, grab your beers.
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Anthrax, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now here's your host.
I am Monty Heath, so1 Heath, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Skillet, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle on Domain Cleveland Radio.
Fasten your seatbelts.
That'll help. There we are. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle. And real quick housekeeping note, if you're watching us on YouTube, on Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, please hit that follow and subscribe button. And if you are listening to us on Apple, Google, Spotify, whatever podcast platform you utilize, please hit that follow and subscribe button so we can continue to bring you conversations like the one we're bringing you today. I am catching up with my shipmate and my brother, Mr. Carl McBride. How you doing, Carl?
Good, pretty good, Bill. Glad to be on the show.
Yeah, man. I'm glad to have you on. I appreciate you, stepping up and volunteering to help me out and stuff too. It's like been harder and harder to get some of our veterans to come on and share their stories, and everybody's got a story, man. And I know for a fact you got some stories.
Yeah, I got a few.
I was there for quite a few of them with you too. So
yeah.
And when I look back, man, it's just like my biggest regret, man. It's just like not getting our brother Tim Daly on when he was still with us, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know we'll get into mentioning Tim and stuff like that. But usually when I have people on the first time, I like to get a quick background. So you remember when you were a little kid, what you originally wanted to be when you grew up?
A little bit of everything, man. I wanted to get into movies. Wanted to, be a comedian. I was always cutting up in elementary school and all the way up, and even in my years in the Navy. Oh
yeah.
But I mean,
that's why we bonded so well.
Yeah.
Me, you, and Cafaro, man.
Yeah. So
like,
that was something I always did.
Yeah.
Just with my background, I had my whole family, my mom, my dad, and my two brothers, and good majority of the time, me and my brothers were always joking around. So yeah.
Who were some of your, would you say were some of your early inspirations for comedy?
Definitely Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. Even Brutus approved of that one, right?
Yeah, definitely Eddie Murphy. Some stuff Richard Pryor did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, two of my favorite movies of his was Which Way Is Up and The Toy.
The Toy, yeah. I remember The Toy.
And it's funny because The Toy makes me think about this skit that Damon Wayans did on In Living Color. It was called Richard Pryor, Scared for No Reason.
Oh, no, I don't remember that.
Yeah, if you get a chance, check it out on YouTube. But he mimics Richard Pryor's, like, all of his movements. Like, he must have watched The Toy like 100 times.
Oh, that's a perfect. Yeah. I remember that movie, him and Gene Wilder all the time were like crazy and stuff. It was great. And then like Eddie Murphy, one of my favorites with him was The Golden Child.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
Like when he goes to meet the monks, he's like, I want the knife.
Of course, my favorite one is Coming to America.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it was so much element in that, especially
Oh,
the,
yeah.
the guy with the soul glow.
yeah. Yeah, we used to talk about that all the
Yeah,
time.
matter of fact, I don't know if I ever showed
Solo and
you.
the baby powder, but that was a different movie.
Yeah, I don't know if I showed you my me and my brother-in-law did a skit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were at Vacation Bible School. Shoot, this at least might have been like 5 years ago. But we did like little skits. And I guess he wanted me, I think the skit was he wanted me to play this security guard. So it was kind of like a Martin Otis type dude.
Okay.
And I had a Jerry curl wig.
Nice.
So like in between doing our stuff at Vacation Bible School, we did this Soul Glow skit.
Nice.
And I had like a bottle of hand sanitizer, and he was actually singing the hook of Soul Glow. And I had a bottle of hand sanitizer, like I was pumping it, like it was activator doing it. Yeah. So
Nice.
yeah, that's a prime example of just, stuff I do,
And then like when was it when you felt like the calling to serve your country?
I actually had a couple of guys. The main street I grew up on was East 153rd, on the east side of Cleveland, East 153rd and Bartlett. So there were two guys that I knew of that actually served in the Navy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I looked at it, was like, oh, it's a cool thing. And kind of like right around the time Under Siege came out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I said, well, yeah, I'm gonna get at a shot. So I actually made the decision. My dad asked me on my 17th birthday. He said, well, what you want to do? I said, well, I'm going to the Navy.
Yeah.
So he was like, you ain't gonna be afraid of that water. And I'm like, I ain't thinking nothing of it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, and it never bothered me. Never bothered me.
Yeah. So like when you went, I mean, what would you say like when you first where'd you end up going to boot camp? Great Lakes?
I went to
Oh,
RTC, NTC, San Diego.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. You got to go to San Diego, man.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah,
it was nice.
yeah. I remember they had the San Diego, they had Orlando, and then they had Great Lakes,
Yeah.
And I don't know, I know you're like one of the few that I know from Ohio, from Cleveland area, that got to go to San Diego. I knew somebody that got to go to Orlando,
Mhm.
but no, my ass had to go to Great Lakes, But what was that experience like, for you, with everything you knew growing up? What would you say was some of the oddest things you experienced when you came into the Navy?
Oddest things. Well, it was kind of a culture shock, like coming in, because the very first thing that I noticed, it was like I was on this. They had an episode of the Flintstones where I don't know if they were in the Philippines, but it was like a bunch of Filipinos.
Oh yeah.
So it was a good portion, probably 40% of that base, man, was like Filipino.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing. I'm like, man, I ain't never seen so many in my life, So, I mean, that was a culture shock. And, the whole atmosphere was then different.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, it's, sunny.
Yeah.
It's sunny.
Clear blue skies. Not
Yeah.
like the haze
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
had here all the time,
Yeah. One thing I noticed was like on the roads, seemed like where I was at, everything like from a distance, how you look at the skyline,
Yeah.
like the downtown, seemed like all the roads were kind of elevated.
Oh yeah.
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 Yeah. So yeah, it was, I mean, it was different,
Yeah.
being from Cleveland and going to San Diego, it was definitely different.
And what was it like, like just, I mean, you talked about like me, seeing a lot of Filipino people on the base, but like when you were in your like boot camp unit, what was that experience like?
Well, of course, the first day was wild. We had that period where, you know, we checked in, and actually it was like the minute you, because, you know, my recruiter, you know, of course, was from here, but yeah, coming in, it was like immediately we're, you know, we were talking like buddies, you know, just like that. When he picked me up, took me to the MEP station, it was like, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Just right off the rip.
Yeah.
So yeah, going into boot camp, actually getting there, you know, you had to call everybody sir.
Yeah.
Like anybody with a crow, you had to call them sir.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was
that
was a little tough to come to terms with. But that very first day, we literally stayed up 24 hours.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we got our uniforms, got all of that stuff done, our medical screening, and I just remember marching, and you know they're doing the cadence, the left, right, so you had to what was called square the grinder, where you kind of had to pivot.
Yeah.
So that first day, I was trying to learn how to do it, and my company commander was screaming at me. And the whole time, I'm just like, man, I can't wait for this to be over with, because I was literally like walking, marching, turning the corners, and like falling asleep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just like right from the rip, after you did all the medical stuff, you didn't even get to sleep at all. It was just like,
no, we didn't get to sleep until 7 o'clock in the evening.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a long day.
Yeah, yeah.
And then just like that, we had to get up. I think it was 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Yeah.
We own you now, you know?
Yeah. So
yeah.
It was definitely a change.
Yeah.
You know, it was to the point we were in the middle of, you know, checking in. And I was like, man, how many years I signed up for?
Yeah. Yeah. So like, what now was that, was the reason why they sent you to San Diego too? Was that where your A school ended up being too after boot camp, or?
You know, I actually didn't have an A school. I think the guy gave me options, my recruiter, of whether I wanted to be a airman, seaman, fireman.
Okay, yeah, that's what.
And depending on what I chose, I was going to either one.
Apprenticeship program or something. Yeah, that's what I ended up doing too.
Yeah. If I chose the seaman apprentice, I think they were going to send me to Orlando.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I chose the fireman apprentice.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, because I mean, I knew you as an engineman, so that would go with that.
Yeah.
So then, is that where your fireman apprenticeship school was at then after boot camp?
Yeah, right after boot camp, I did the apprenticeship. It was a 3-week course, and I was actually there an extra week because they had a hold, like a class hold.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess, you know, they must have been waiting on the, you know, other class to finish up. So
yeah, I ended up having I mean, I was originally like a seaman apprentice, and then in boot camp you kind of got to like, you know, like I forget what I had to do. I was just like, hey, I changed my mind. Can I do, you know, I decided to do airman. You know, I think Top Gun was just out or something like that too, you know. I was like, yeah, it looks a lot more fun, man. It's like, because some people are like, man, you ain't gonna see the sun, you know, if you know. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, man, I want to. If you're airman, you're out, you know, in the sun. I want to see the sun. So I end up, but everything was still up in Great Lakes. So it's like, you know, I came home, but went back and had the 3-week airman apprentice thing there in Great Lakes, you know. So it's like, you know, I don't know. I didn't get any other nicer options. But so then what did you end up doing? Like, how how long did you stay active?
Well, active duty, my first 4 years. Well, you know, I did 20.
Yeah.
The first 4 years at the boot camp, I was on the USS Scott.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an old destroyer, and I guess the model was, you know, they said they were kid class type destroyers.
All right.
Yeah. So actually ended up becoming what's called GSM, gas turbine systems mechanical.
Okay. Yeah.
Which, you know, our ship had 3 gas turbine engines. So yeah, that's what I did. A lot of time in the engine room.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I ended up doing active duty.
So yeah, I remember, you know, I mean, like I said, when we met, when you came into ACU2 when we were in the reserves together, but during your time of active duty, where would you say was probably your least favorite duty station?
Active duty? Well, we, you know, as far as the ship, we were stationed in Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay.
So it wasn't bad, but of course, like the last 3 months before I got out of active duty, they moved our ship to Mayport, Florida.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
so you didn't get to experience the Florida part, huh?
Just a little bit of it.
Yeah, just in time.
Like,
yeah.
you know, basically I got out because I came in August of 93. So I finished up my term August of 97. So pretty much that whole summer I'm in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Right.
I'm out anytime I'm, you know, off the ship, I'm
Yeah.
hanging out.
Yeah. So that was probably your favorite
Yeah.
place you got to be then down in
Yeah.
Florida. And then after that, what was that, 4 years active, you said?
hmm
Then you went into the reserves?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think when you came into ACU2.
So what actually ended up happening when I got out of active duty and went reserve, around that time I was with, you know, my now ex-wife.
Okay.
So, you know, she was actually, which I took a chance of, you know, being with her because, you know, I thought she was a little different
Mm-hmm.
than, you know, the typical woman out in a military town.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she was going to college, and you know, I was in the middle of it, making my transition. She was finishing up college, and I ended up joining the reserves. So my actual first unit was called Explosive Ordnance Disposal, Mobile Unit
okay.
10.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That wasn't here in Cleveland. That was
actually, you know, pretty much Little Creek.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did that. Yeah, probably like 6 months because it, you know, the transition took a while
Yeah.
being active in reserve. So about 6 months, and by that time, my ex-wife had graduated from Norfolk State, so she took a job to UPS out in Laurel, Maryland.
Okay.
So, you know, before she made the transition, we got married and ended up moving to Maryland. So that was 98, like summer 98. So that's when I joined ACU2 out in Baltimore.
Okay. Oh yeah. So you were Baltimore originally. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did the 3 years out there. You know, some cool guys.
Yeah.
You know, it was cool guys out in Baltimore. You know, they welcomed me, you know, like from beginning to end.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so
I remember every time we would do any kind of like, you know, like sand crab and stuff like that, you know, there'd always be, all right, ACU2 Cleveland, ACU2 Baltimore. And there was always like some sort of like, I don't know, competitiveness or something like that between the two. And then, you know, you heard the Luster story, how he tried to, you know, bring us all together. But Well, you were with us at that time, I think, right? Or I don't know if you were on that specific.
Well, you know, when we when that happened, I had went to the Merchant Marine Academy. I was doing an engineman course, but it was under. Remember, they were doing the GMATs.
Yeah. That
So
was up at that Kings Point, New York. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
so that year I went there. So it was like when I came back.
You heard the story. Yeah. But you had already been a part of Cleveland by around that time. Because so like when you came from Baltimore, what ended up bringing you back home to Cleveland?
Well, you know, the split with my ex-wife, and you know, just the circumstances surrounded. I said, well, you know, go back home.
And then when to stay in the reserves, it was kind of like an easy transition because it was just like, okay, there's an ACU2.
Yeah, that was definitely something I looked at.
When you were with Baltimore, did they ever say like, "Oh man, you don't want to, watch out for those Cleveland guys"? Or anything?
I mean, it was a little bit of talk, man, but you know, I just thought it was cool that they had a Cleveland unit.
Yeah,
not that, you know, of course, you know, in the prior life being married, I didn't think I would end up back in Cleveland, but you know, of course, when I went through the whole split, it's like, well, yeah, they got an ACU2 in Cleveland, so yeah, just come back home.
Easy.
Yeah. So
transition. So then, when you, because I don't want to miss anything like during your active duty time, so it was pretty much, you were in Norfolk. I mean, you did your boot camp and training and everything in San Diego. Then your first duty station was Norfolk.
Yeah.
And then transferred to Florida, and then that's when you went into the reserves.
Yep, I moved back.
Between.
Yeah, after that, I, you know, like I mentioned, my ex-wife, she was finishing up school at that time, so I moved back to Norfolk, and then when she graduated and took the job, we moved to Maryland.
Okay.
Yep. So. And
then that's when your reserve career started. Basically, your reserve part of your career started.
Yeah.
And then, like transferring from originally when you came from active duty, and I mean, you probably still, even today, like coming from what you had, you know, what you learned and was instilled in you active duty and the things that we learned, even in reserves. I mean, shit, the things we would say to each other, you know, ball busting and all that stuff, you know, that would blow people's heads would explode, you know, in the civilian world. But what is your, like, what would you say is one of your biggest pet peeves with, you know, since, you know, transitioning out of military back to the civilian world? What's one of your biggest pet peeves with civilian world today?
I would have to say the discipline, man, you know, the work ethic.
Yeah.
It's like probably now more than ever, you know, you just really don't hear about too many people, you know, having that good work ethic.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of entitlement.
Yeah.
A lot of entitlement, you know, a lot has changed. And, you know, it's like, you got to, depend on who you're dealing with, you got to be careful in the way you talk to them.
Oh, yeah.
You know, everything is sensitive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, you know, you had to have an iron stomach being in the military.
Dude, I mean, if we were still today, I think even in the current military, me and you would have been like, we would have been probably at captain's mast or something, you know, just for just the jokes we would tell with each other and everything. But yeah, like I saw something the other day. I was reading, like they did some sort of poll about like today's youth, you know, like going for job interviews and stuff like that and what they lack, you know, and it's just like there's a percentage of, you know, can't look their employer in the eye, the interviewer in the eye, they look down, or they brought their parent with them to their interview and shit like that. It's just like, dude, what is going on, man? It's scary, you know? But yeah, there's you know, there was so much we could say about our time of service, but I'm grateful for, you know, those core things that it taught us, you know, for sure.
Yeah.
And then what is something, you know, speaking of like things, you know, that I mean, we just talked about, you know, what we're seeing lacking in civilians, but what is something that you feel you'll always carry with you, you know, that from your time of service that the military taught you?
You know, being professional, you know, professionalism, respect for authority. You know, even in my job now, sometimes, you know, because we have chiefs, you know, that we report to.
Yeah.
So of course it's easily for, you know, me to call him chief.
Yeah.
You know, even call him sir, but probably more chief.
Yeah.
So other than that, just, you know, being grateful that I was able to pick up a certain skill set, which, you know, generally was mechanical aptitude.
Yeah.
So from there, I was able to, you know, of course, while I was balancing my reserve career, you know, I had a career in the elevator trade.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, just having that, you know, discipline and learning that particular, you know, trade, that skill, it actually helped me in life.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And then what I know there's quite a bit, you know, and this one we don't even have to really get into ACU2 yet. This could even be back like before ACU2.
Yeah.
But what's one of the funniest stories you feel you can share from?
Oh crap, I got a couple.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll go into two stories, and you'll like this one, just the common interest we have in wrestling.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
yeah.
So what was it, like my second or third day in boot camp? You know, we had to do the swim test.
Okay.
So, you know, we're sitting there and the instructor, he goes over everything, which basically, you know, with the swim test, you know, of course, the basic was the third class swim test.
Yeah.
You really had to just swim back and forth in the pool, even though it was an Olympic sized pool. So you had to swim one way and then come back. And I think you treaded water for like 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they had us jump off of this platform. I don't know. I think the platform at least had to be like maybe 4 feet. So, you know, they had us lined up in threes and we had to cross our arms.
Yeah.
And, you know, when the guy told us to jump in, you know, we jumped in and we took the test. So after he explained everything, he was like, okay, raise your hand if you can't swim. So everybody that felt like they couldn't swim, they raised their hands. I don't know. I was kind of used to the rec pool, so I thought I could really, you know, swim.
Yeah.
But I had a rude awakening. So when we go to do the test, you know, we got our arms crossed and, you know, like I said, they're jumping in by threes. So there was this one guy, I forget his name. I just remember he was from Detroit. And he had a kind of a speech impediment. So he went like this, raised his hand. And man, the instructor looked at him like he was crazy.
Yeah.
He was like, what? So the guy, you know, he raised his hand, he doing like this. He was like, you know, I can't swim. I can't swim. You know, he had that. So man, the instructor, he got so mad. He said, jump in the fucking water right now. And he was like, but third, I can't swim. He said, jump in the water now. You know, of course, he had the buoy, you know, that he threw out
Yeah.
if you couldn't swim. So, you know, you were going to be saved.
Yeah, they had people. you know,
Yeah,
I
so
remember.
this guy, he sat up there for a good while. He was like, I can't do it. So he kind of eased up and he sat down on the platform and kind of kicked his feet out and jumped in the water. And I guess the guy had the buoy there. So, you know, of course, when we didn't pass, we had to, I guess, you know, give the attendant our billet number and name. So from that point, you had to come back. You know, you couldn't graduate from boot camp until you passed it. So there was another guy. He starts crying. You know, he's a black guy. Well, both of them were black. The first guy, Goofy, though. Yeah. So this guy starts crying. And I'm like, you know, I guess at least like, you know, 2 rows behind him. So he sits there, he's crying. He's like, oh, man, I don't want to do it, man. So I'm back there and I'm like, man, this dude is wasting time. Push his ass in there. He turned around. He's like, don't push me, man. So he kind of did the same thing where he scooted. He looked down and it was like, come on, man. Come on, bring your ass on. And he's sitting there and he kind of squatted down and then jumped in the water. Took the buoy and got him. So when my time came up,
You're like, I ain't being like these dudes.
and I wasn't scared, but I don't know what the hell I was thinking, and I got pictures to prove it because they put it in our book.
Your graduation
So
book?
yeah. So I jumped in the water, but you know, like I said, the platform was already like at least 3-4 feet, like, you know, above. So I jumped probably 3 to 4 feet off of the platform.
Up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Trying
you
to
know,
do like-
doing the calculation, you like
Should be
6,
like
7
Superfly
feet.
Snooker or something?
Yeah. Yeah. Who does the splash? I'm trying to remember who comes off the top rope with the splash. Well, I guess it was Superfly.
Superfly, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm up in the air. So you're talking about 6 or 7 feet before you hit the water. And the water was 8.5 feet.
No shit.
Yeah, so you talking about I jumped so high when I hit the water, I went straight down and touched the bottom of the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I came up, I was like, oh man. Like, you know, just jumping that high, I was overwhelmed by the jump. So when it was time for me to surface and, you know, I was going to start swimming, so I kind of still got my arms crossed. So I stick my head out of the water and I do just like this, like I turn kind of like on my back and my head was out. So I'm like this. Woo! So I was just like, man,
Flare on there.
I'm not, you know, I said, okay, I can't do it today. It wasn't that I was scared. I was just so overwhelmed by that jump. But yeah, they laughed at me. The company commander laughed at me. And for a week, they called me Ric Flair. Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
That's great.
yeah, my top 2 is that one. And when I was on the ship, USS Scott. So like 3 months after I got on the ship, we got a new senior chief master at arms.
Okay.
No kidding, I can't make this up. The guy was senior chief master at arms Jimmy Compton.
Nice.
Yeah, Senior Chief Compton. So this guy, man,
Compton's in the house.
he was, and the dude, he was a hard dude. Like, he just didn't look like he had no type of fun in his life, man. You know, and I don't even think he put his sea bag down good. Where he comes to the chow line, you know, we getting our chow, and he's looking at everybody's uniform. You know, of course, you remember they called the gig line.
Yeah.
So he's checking that. He's checking the shave. And this dude has a real raspy voice. So he would do just like this. Like, he'd be checking you out. He'd look at your shave. You got a no shave shit? If you don't have a no shave shit, you either need to go to medical or you need to shave. Now get out of line. Yeah, he was kicking people out of the lunch line, man. I'm like, man, this dude, like, this is a serious dude, man. So, of course, I know a lot of people notice, you know, his voice.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he was kind of stiff, man. Like, you know, you think he have like some muscles or something, but you know, the guy was like this, you know, barely looked like he had a neck. So, yeah, but you know, he's a real serious dude. So, yeah, after a while, I started picking up his voice. So, you know, just kind of clowning around. We on the mess decks or whatever. They'd be like, yeah, I heard you can do Senior Chief Compton.
Yeah.
So I do it, and they'll start laughing. So I guess a little time had passed. Like, by that time, the following year, we were in the shipyards just for a small time because when I first got on the ship, we were actually finishing up the 6-month cruise. Like, they were in their last 2 months. Yeah. So after that, about the summer, they were in the shipyards, and I ended up doing some crazy stuff, man. I'm on restriction, so I can't go nowhere. But you know, it was a lot of people on the back of the boat, and you know, that's where they set up the quarterdeck.
Yeah.
So that's what it was. We just got out of the shipyards. We had just got out of the shipyards, and we were on the pier. So he walks out, and no kidding, it was like late summer, August, but it was still kind of warm. Dude comes out. He's got on look like a Bill Cosby sweater. He's got jean shorts on. He's got jean shorts on. And he's got sandals on. So they pointed out, like, hey, man, they're going to see Chief Compton, man. Bet you won't do nothing in front of him. I said, man, I ain't worried about seeing Chief Compton, man. Come on. And they was like, bet money you won't do it in front of him. So I goes up there to the quarterdeck. You know, by that time, he's got his ID pulled out. And he goes to salute. Ask permission to go ashore, and I, you know, go over to the side and tap him. So I say, Senior Chief, you know you're supposed to have some socks on with them sandals. So he was like, negative, that was in the shipyards. So he turned around. I told him, I said, Senior Chief, come on, you know the rules. So the one guy that was on watch at the quarterdeck, he was like, hey, Senior, you know, McBride trying to sound like you. So Senior Chief was like, yeah, I done told him about that. Said, I'm going to mess around. You keep doing it. I'm going to send you to the old man. I'm going to write you up. So I said, why you going to do that to me, Senior Chief? And he was like, it's disrespect to a Senior Chief Petty Officer. So I threw my hands up and said, oh, well, I ain't messing with this dude no more. And I was getting ready to walk off. So I turn around on the back of the boat. Everybody is laughing their ass off, like just bent over, like howling. So he look around the quarter deck. So he does like this. I can't make this up, man. Come here, McBride. Come here. So I come up to him like, oh, deal with this dude. So, no kidding, I can't make this up. He does exactly like this. Okay, McBride, this is it. The joke is over with. The smile is off my face. No kidding, Bill. He did just like this. If I catch you doing it again or I hear about it, I'm gonna send you to the old man. So I stopped doing it. Just, you know, I probably might have did it like 1 or 2 times. So that following year, we end up on our 6-month cruise. So, and, you know, we had like a halfway mark. So, you know, we had an event, you know, we ended up doing a talent show. So, I guess one of the guys that was coordinated, you know, he asked me if I wanted to be in the talent show. So, you know, people were already talking about it. So, you know, I was like, well, it just immediately popped in my head. I said, you know what?
Oh, no.
Just go ahead and ask Senior Chief, just ask him for permission because I know people gonna want me to do it.
Yeah.
So sure enough, probably later that day, he comes back. He says, no. He says, Senior Chief don't want you messing with him. You know, if you go up there and do it, you know, he gonna write you up. So day of the talent show, you know, we bought tickets. It's only like a couple of dollars, if even that. So my division chief, Chief Algren, calls me down to Central Control Station. And, you know, that's where they monitor all the equipment, the engines, generator, all that kind of stuff. So he's like, what's going on, McBride? I said, nothing, you know, just doing my usual. So he says, you going to the talent show? So I said, yeah, you know, I bought my ticket. He said, you're not in the talent show. I said, no, I just got my ticket. So he says, okay, I'm gonna tell you this. So we was in the Chief's mess talking, and, you know, Senior Chief Compton, he said he was, you know, worried about you, you know, going up there imitating him. And he was like, well, McBride, I'm trying to protect you, but, you know, he said if you go up there and do it, he was gonna write you up. So I'm like, well, I'm not even in the talent show, Chief. I'm just up there. You know, I got my ticket, so I'm just watching everything else. He was like, okay. You know, don't say I didn't warn you. So I'm at the talent show, man. And, you know, I guess one of the guys that was hosting the show, after they did all the little acts, I guess he grabs the mic. He says, okay, who want McBride to come up here and do some impersonations? Because that wasn't the only one, you know, other than clowning, telling jokes or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, that was kind of my thing. I could, you know, imitate a bunch of guys on the ship. So everybody started cheering. So they called me up there.
No.
So there was like 2 guys I imitated and they were cool with it. So after I did that second one, they started chanting, do Senior Chief, do Senior Chief, do Senior Chief. So, man, I look off to my left and dude is sitting there and he is sweating his behind off.
Oh, no.
So he was like, you better not do it, McBride. You better not do it. So I still got the mic in my hand and I got a picture of that too, where, you know, I'm kind of looking off with the mic in my hand. And I could just see the fear in that dude's eyes. And he came up, grabbed the mic from me, and he said that was the end of the show.
Oh shit!
So I'm walking
So people
back.
booing. and
Yeah,
shit.
so I'm like, okay, I ain't thinking nothing of it. So I get a tap on my shoulder. You know, I'm pretty much heading back to my Berlin Inn. I get a tap on my shoulder. Well, it's the commander of the boat, Commander Johnson. And he was like, McBride, why you didn't do it? I said, what? He says, man, I wanted to hear it. So I told him, I said, well, he said he was going to send me to you. So yeah, he was cool as a captain. He said, man, don't worry about that shit, man. You know, I got you. He said, I want you to do it, but you know, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just happened to be like, you know, probably at least maybe within a week of that time, I was, you know, we were out to sea still. Yeah, it was actually right before we got back. So I'm dumping trash, you know, off the side. And he's out there, you know, smoking his cigar. So he tapped me. He said, okay, do it. So I do it. He busts out laughing. But after that, I didn't mess with that dude no more.
No
man.
more.
Yeah, senior chief, man.
Yeah.
And he was actually a cool guy, like, you know, later on.
Yeah.
Because I saw him a few months before he retired. Like, he retired like in 08.
Okay.
And he looked the same. The only difference was he had a full head of gray hair.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But yeah, senior chief, that was probably my best story, man.
I remember you had me thinking too, man. I remember, you know, when I went to boot camp, you know, and doing the swim calls too.
Mhm.
And we had you know, when we did it, I don't know, you know, because I'm older than you, but I don't remember. I mean, did you still have the full on dungarees we went through?
Oh yeah.
We had to do the thing where you jump in and you had to take your dungarees off and make it into a life preserver, you know, blow into the dungarees and tie the ends and blow into it and use it as a flotation device
Mhm.
and shit like that. Well, we had dudes in my boot camp that were like straight from Africa, dude. Straight from Africa, like, you know, like darkness, you know, like in the Chappelle show and stuff. These guys were from like, I forget if they're Ghana or something, you know,
Yeah.
but so they had the accent, the really thick accent and everything too. And those dudes could not swim, man. And I remember like they sunk like a rock and the divers had to come down and bring them down, man. And that was just like, and we like a lot of us came together to help them, you know, so because, you know, it was holding up everybody, you know,
Mhm.
because we start as a unit, we end as a unit, you know.
Yeah.
And we didn't want them to get held back and stuff. But yeah, I remember that you brought that memory back. It's funny, man.
Oh, well, I'll tell this one real quick. Going back to boot camp. Remember doing the gas chamber?
Oh yeah.
So I do the gas chamber. And of course, you know, the part we take our mask off and we got to do our general orders.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I pulled my mask off. I started doing it and it just like hit me, man. And it was to the point where I was like tearing, snot coming out my nose. And I'm just like, man, I can't see, man. I can't see. And I walk out there. I don't even see where I'm going. And it just looked like I was just like boohoo crying. They was like, look at McBride, man. Look at. And I'm like, man, why y'all laughing, man? I can't see. I can't see. So I don't know who it was. It might have been one of the company commanders. I was like, I can't see, man. I can't see. So he says, McBride, open your eyes, motherfucker. And I do like this, and everybody busts out laughing. But I still, you know, I got the slide in my nose, man. Like that gas chamber was tough to me.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And then you know, going back to like looking at, you know, all the things that we went through and why we went through it, you know, and then talking about where things are at, you know, when we look around today, like how, you know, I mean, just the seriousness. He always got to be around, but Brutus. But what is one of your greatest hopes? Would you say for the country you've been willing to give your life for?
Oh, just thinking off the rip, man. Just strengthening our military. You know, just going back even to like 9/11. You know, just, you know, if we have a strong enough military, you know, there's always going to be some ills. There's, you know, my experience of being in the military, especially when I went overseas, there's some serious places that don't like Americans.
Yeah.
And the thing is, just like how you were talking about the African and stuff,
yeah.
You know, to them, you know, depending on where you at, it don't matter if you know, black, you're white, Latino, or whatever. You know, they know whether or not you're American.
Yeah.
Like it's a difference to them.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's people that really hate America that could strike any time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that's the thing that I want to see is, you know, we have to like really strengthen our military, probably to the point, from what I know, at least, you know, in my lifetime, I think maybe our military was probably the strongest in the Reagan era.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that whole thing with Gaddafi.
Yeah.
It did not last long.
And not just like, you know, our military. I mean, I look at our country today too. And like you mentioned 9/11, but
yeah,
you know, like 9/12, man, you know, everybody had their flag out on their front porch, man. Everybody was American. We were all united, you know, against the common enemy and stuff. And it's just, you know, and it was like, never forget, you know, but it's just like, how many short years was it that we forgot? And now everybody's got all kinds of flags on their, and we're divided by all these different flags,
right?
You know,
right?
You know, it ain't the United States flag. I mean, you can support whatever cause you want. That's the freedom that you know we defended for, you know, in this country. But it's like America should be top. You know, we're all Americans first. You know, and when we were in together, it was just like, you know, it wasn't like, you know, you're black, I'm white. It was like, we're shipmates. We're in the Navy together. We're wearing the same uniform. It was, you know, I mean, we would have our differences, man, but it's like we would, you know, we could bust our each other's chops with comedy and stuff.
Oh,
you know, and I know one of the biggest, like, you know, you were talking with the talent show and all the stuff and the laughing and the comedy skits, but I mean, one of the biggest things that, even if we're having a shitty like AT or training op or something like that, man, it's just like, you know, Dave Chappelle was like our dude, man. We were just like quoting Chappelle show stuff, throwing that at each other all the time, you know. It was like, I mean, you know, and today it's people lose their shit, man. It's like, you know, it's like you say something and then right away everybody's just assuming, oh, you're racist, you're hateful, you're this phobe, you're that, you know. And it's just like, dude, man, no, man. It's just like, this is just how we talk to each other. You know, this is us showing love for one another, you know. And it's just like laughter brought everybody together, you know. And yeah, I don't know, man. It's just like I hope our country can get back. I see kind of like a pendulum swinging a little bit, you know, because this cancel culture has gotten a little too way out of hand. Yeah, you know. And I think now it's just like, you know, like Chappelle's still doing his thing, man. You know, it's like we're watching, you know, catching up on his Netflix stuff. I went and seen him when he came through, you know, and it's just like, I love that dude. I hope me and you someday should try and plan a trip and go down to Southern Ohio and hang out, you know, and try and connect with him, man, and tell him the stories on you know, how he helped us, you know.
We can have our old true Hollywood story like Charlie Murphy.
yeah, exactly. But, you know, it's just like, I think people are finally having enough of being like, you know, like, okay, don't tell me what's not funny. Don't tell me what I'm allowed to say, what I'm not allowed to say. It's just like, you know, toughen up, man, you know. And I see it kind of thankfully going. The problem is we need to find balance. You know, this
Yeah.
country goes from one extreme to the other. It's either like far left or far right, and it's just like we need to get back
Mhm.
centered. I think, you know, and be able to just, you can't talk if you're trying to silence your opposition. You can't come to the table and learn from one another if you're trying to silence it. But
Mhm.
you know, that's just my soapbox, man. I know
Yeah.
it was just different times when we were serving, you know,
Mhm.
and that united us as well.
Yeah.
You know, it was like we would have each other's backs. You know, we'd bust each other's balls, but when push came to shove, we had each other's backs too, you
Mhm.
know. And I hope that we as a country can get back to that. Not just the strong military, we need strong people at home, because the strong military
Oh.
got sent off to so many wars, and the people back home just got weaker and weaker.
Yeah.
It feels like, you know, I hate to say it. I know it's not a popular opinion, but it's the truth, you know?
Well, definitely a lot of that is parenting. You know, I know in my case, my story, you know, I had both parents in the house.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, in our era, I know at least for me, the whole role of what the dad was, or at least my dad, was to make sure you wasn't soft.
Yeah.
He was like really tough on that. It was to the point, I tell the story all the time. Me and my brothers couldn't have Jerry curls. He thought it was soft.
Yeah.
It was like little stuff like that.
He wasn't down with the Soul Glow. Huh?
No. And I remember, you know, I turned 17 and, you know, I got my ear pierced. He didn't like it. He was like, "You ain't turning into no fag, is you?" You know, I know you can't really say that word, you know, now, but, you know, just imagine him saying that now, and
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
overhearing us.
Yeah,
in
oh,
the
yeah,
house.
yeah. And CPS would be getting called.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. So, you know, that was just something that my dad did. You know, that was something that he knew. You know, because I'm pretty sure my grandfather was the same way.
Yeah.
But that was the thing. You know, men were a lot more macho.
Yeah.
You know, of course, you know, black. Well, I don't think it even stopped with black, white. You had a lot of the thicker mustaches.
Yeah, yeah.
Now everybody's getting them trim clothes.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that was a part of, you know, that whole being macho.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it definitely starts in the home.
Yeah, definitely starts in the home. And it's just like, you know, I mean, I see like, and we could do a whole nother episode on, you know, the legal system and how like the war against drugs and everything has been set up against us to just divide that family. You have both parents at home. There's so many houses. They're like attacking the men, the masculine example.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
There's so many houses without men, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and the divide of the parents and the, you know, it's like I said, I can go down a whole nother rabbit hole with that, you know, but, you know, when we look at things with like, you know, mental health, like, I mean, I've been reading a lot of stuff that June is actually like mental health month, men's mental health month as well. You know, I know, you know, going back to flags or something else that, you know, is taking precedence this month as well, you know, but yeah, men's mental health is like, you know, is something that, we learn about. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's part of our like therapy for each other was our dark humor, I guess too. But, you know, I've learned as I've got older that it's all right for men to go talk to people and seek help, and it shouldn't be stigmatized. But what is your, you know, coming from our experience in the military and everything as men as well, like what do you feel we can do to break the stigma of mental health and PTSD?
I mean, it's really tough to say. I mean, I think, you know, people that are experiencing PTSD, you know, we just have to continue to, you know, provide counsel. You know, one thing you have to keep in mind, you know, just with certain experiences you might even had as a kid, you know, there's somebody that's had similar problems, And you know, you got all of these support groups that are out, you know, even with like battered women. So I think, you know, just continuing to do the support groups, just, you know, and just talking to each other as men, you know, just to know that another man experiencing the same problems, you know, I think that would help.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, I feel, and I've learned, like, in my time in recovery, you know, doing, you know, meetings, you know, with other men, it's all right to, you know, we try and numb our feelings, you know, like, this is uncomfortable, like, kind of, you know, I mean, the old school mentality, like your dad said, when you have an earring, you're not becoming a fag, are you? You know, it's just like, you know, I mean, I know where he was coming from and stuff, but at the same time, it's just like, you know, we use that as, like, you know, men aren't supposed to have feelings.
Yeah.
And it's like, men do have feelings, man. We carry a lot, you know, and we try and bottle it because we're providers and stuff for our families. But it's like, yeah, man, it's just like, if we don't find a healthy way to, you know, express our feelings and get it out, and, you know, the body keeps the score. Eventually it's going to find its way out, you know, and it could be through a sickness, it could be through whatever, you know. So I think, like, yeah, the importance of talking about it and finding a place where we can talk about, where men can, you know, we could have that moment, you know, shed a tear, whatever, be there for each other, and then be like, oh, how about them Browns, and then move on or whatever, you know, whatever, you know. But yeah, I just I'm grateful for, you know, during my time getting sober and stuff, because I mean, it's like, you know, you knew me in ACU too, you know, and you know, a lot of the wild parties and the stuff we'd have and do, you know, for distractions and stuff. But
yeah,
you know, like, I'm glad that I became someone too, that I was able to say all the things I needed to say to my dad before he passed away. You know, I'm glad that I got to spend a lot of time with Tim before we lost him and say, you know, how much he meant to me, you know, and, you know, but yeah, speaking of Tim, we got to have a, you know, let's get back to ACU2 kind of, like, real quick. Like, I know there's got to be a Tim Daly story, a good, one of your favorite Tim Daly stories, or, you know, anything ACU2, but yeah, I mean, any good story in ACU2, I think during the time we were in, Tim was involved in one way or the other. So what was one of your favorite?
It had to be the Del Mar op. This was like 06. And oh boy. It was you know, one of those things where he was kind of teeing off on Miller.
Dave,
Stan Miller,
or Stan?
Yeah.
Actually,
Stan. Yeah.
Or was it Dave or Stan? Because he busted everybody.
No, it was Stan Miller.
Okay.
I mean, he didn't.
Somebody we need to find and get on this show as well.
Yeah.
At some point.
Like, he wasn't screaming at him. If anything, he was kind of making fun of him, because
which we all.
I couldn't remember if it might have been him. Because it was one of those things, you know, we were doing our beach landings and coming in, you know, where you had to throw the rope over so they could tie off.
Yeah.
You know, I guess Stan kept missing it. So Tim Daly, he was like, throw the fucking line. And he said it a couple of times. And he came over, he was like, oh my God, this guy, it was like it's right here. Oh, it's going. he kept doing that, like, you know, that was supposed to be the post he throw it on. And it was like one of those things, he was like, oh, like he kept missing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. He did like this little thing, you know, it was like that Pop Goes the Weasel. Like, you know, it was just one of them things, like he didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, Tim, he's just walking around. He's like, doo 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 doo, and he goes real slow. And we sit there just laughing our ass off, man. You know, we had the tent set up out there. You know, we were out there on the beach in the tents, and he was doing that, man, and we would like fall out laughing. Yeah, that was the main thing I remember on that Del Mar app. That out, man. That was a wild out too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was another? What's another like ACU2? One of your favorite memories, ACU2?
Man, it's a lot of them. Probably for sure. Which, you know, it almost seemed like it was kind of the ending of ACU2 Cleveland. But when we were in the classroom, and I can't remember who it was. Was it Chief Mazzaro's? Somebody had a death in the family. So
I know where this is going.
So there was the one lieutenant. Was it his name, Lieutenant Baird? I think so. So we're passing the sympathy card. And, you know, he writes best wishes in the sympathy card. So, yeah, I mean, you were there.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. What the lieutenant wrote that best wishes or whatever. Yeah. And then Stan just went into like a whole friggin' like a TED talk.
Yeah.
On why it's inappropriate to write best wishes.
Yeah, he went to that whole
and I recorded some of it.
Yeah.
It's out there on YouTube. We gotta find that.
Yeah, it was hilarious because he was like, how do you write best wishes in there? Like
somebody just,
you know, best wishes where he ends up in the afterlife.
Yeah.
And when he said it, the whole classroom was laughing. And you was like, man,
and he's like serious as can be.
Yeah, I
you know, like he's just like no, like blown away. And he wasn't even trying to be funny. He was just being, like completely Stan Miller serious. Just like, no, I don't. It doesn't compute. Best wishes. He didn't get a job promotion or something. He lost a loved one. You know.
Then we tried to get him to reenact it, and I think from there, that's where you started the whole YouTube.
The Stan Miller YouTube series.
Yeah,
Damn, I gotta dig that shit up, man.
Yeah,
there's some good stuff. I hope he's still out there. Stan, if you're out there, we got to get you on today's.
Where you at, Stan?
At some point. Yeah, got to be around. I mean, that just showed where the Navy was at because I remember like we all had split up after ACU2 Cleveland kind of was done. You know, a lot of people went to Buffalo. You went to Buffalo too, didn't you, for a little bit?
Went to Buffalo. Yeah, that's where I finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Did Stan go out there or?
He went out there, and actually right before I got out, retired. Unfortunately, I ended up sending him to VTU.
Okay, yeah.
I guess he got into some accident. I don't know. I think he might have like crashed a boat or whatever.
Yeah, I remember like something, and he was like a 10-year like third class or some shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was never getting like promoted, and then all of a sudden, you know, like we were all separated, and word spread that he had ended up. I know he made second, and then I guess before the end he ended up making first somehow.
Yeah.
Everybody like get them, and that was around the same time where Daly and them were just like, "Fuck this, we're retiring. This motherfucker's making first class." Like took away, like all the hard work that, especially as engineman. It's harder for engineman over posting mate to
definitely
get promoted. And it's like they were just like, "All right, that's it. We're retiring. That's it." I mean, so
I was kind of like
Brianna's a first class too.
I was kind of like Brianna's in that sense. I retired as a second class.
Yeah, it was it was like definitely a harder rate, for you guys to make it, and it seemed like bosun mate felt like they were giving it away sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I pissed off a bunch of bosun mates saying that, but so then you go out to Buffalo, you finish up out there,
Mm-hmm.
you retired. A lot of us, thankfully, because of our, camaraderie, of being a part of ACU2, we all kept in touch, and being local, helped.
Mm-hmm.
And we get together occasionally, do our reunion parties and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when Tim was battling cancer, we tried to do that a lot more. And I know, we talk about it, but it's just like, Tim would want us to keep going on, man. So we gotta, keep pushing to do some more. Hopefully this summer we'll do another one or whatever. Yeah. But as you were saying, you have had a career working with elevators, and now you work for the city of Cleveland, correct?
Yeah.
And then, so just want to share where you're at currently and what's.
Well, I'm an elevator inspector, which when it comes to the state of Ohio, the only two major cities that have their own inspectors is Cleveland and Cincinnati.
Okay.
Everything else is mandated by the state. And I guess I'm actually part of the Department of Building and Housing.
Okay.
In Cleveland. So there's a lot involved in that, like Renault, and they have other inspectors, HVAC, a lot of the trades inspectors, HVAC, electrical, they have mechanical inspectors, they got plumbing inspectors. So, that's all grouped into the building and housing department.
But man, I've been into some like old ass, like especially out like the Lakewood area, some old ass apartment buildings, man, where it's just like you're afraid. I'll take the stairs, because you're afraid of some of those, and you got to make sure that those things are still operating. Huh? That's all under your jurisdiction, pretty much, or it's mostly just Cleveland, right?
Well, it's Cleveland.
Yeah,
it's kind of touch and go as far as how far we go off into like other cities or little towns, because we'll go, I say, as far as like east, borderline Shaker, borderline East Cleveland, maybe some of it might even be on the border of Euclid.
But I mean, all those years, like you said, your time in the military, your discipline, your man, why am I friggin' drawing a blank on it? The thing they drove into us in boot camp, to not miss a little detail or whatever.
Attention to detail.
Attention to detail. There you go. Yeah. God, I'm getting old. But attention to detail. I mean, that comes in very important for, I would say, elevator systems. I mean, and then to get to where you are in your career, to work for the city of Cleveland, got to be, obviously all that has paid off, because that's, I guess, for that field, you're to work for a major city like Cleveland. That's,
Yeah, I definitely like it.
Yeah,
I definitely like it. And, it gives me access to, certain parts of the city. I do inspections at all of the stadiums.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The Browns, Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, Progressive. So,
okay, cool.
That's probably the coolest part of it.
Yeah, get to know the right people, man. Get the right tickets and stuff. Hey, you got any hookups for the Rolling Stones? Let me know.
Well, the funny part about it, the city of Cleveland is definitely tough as far as receiving gifts.
Oh yeah.
We're not allowed to do that.
They say the Rolling Stones or SummerSlam. Holler at your boy. Gang.
Dude, I'd definitely take SummerSlam if I could.
Yeah.
You going?
I want to go. I mean, I'm going to figure out a way, but man, those ticket prices were just crazy.
Yeah.
I got online. I was just like, I was like, bro, I just found some ticket stubs when I was in high school for Guns N' Roses at the Richfield Coliseum. I was like third row center stage, man, still
Mhm.
one of my all-time favorite concerts, and it was like only like $20 or something I spent or something, you know, for those tickets back then. And I was just like, dude, you want anything close to the ring, you got to take out a small loan, you know. And it's just like I love wrestling, dude, and I've been trying to get like work something out to start interviewing wrestlers on here and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I will know when it gets closer if they start releasing something at like discounted prices, like which they normally do.
Mhm.
You know, I'm definitely going to hit up some of the festivities while it's in town because they usually make a big like week of stuff. So I mean, I definitely, it's like I have to because it's here, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. It's you know, WWE, Triple H, if you're listening, you know, talk to me. I know I ain't Logan Paul, and my podcast followers ain't as big as your boy, but you know, glad to have
Well,
a talk with you.
That might be a start to try to get him in, Logan Paul.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, Cleveland represent. Real recognizes real, man. Come on.
Or, you know, preferably the Miz.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I still got, you know, I'm still friends with Mrs. Mom. I should definitely
Oh, okay.
get her reach out, but I'll see, man. But hey, man, we've been talking for over an hour, man, and you know, I knew we'd have some good stories and stuff. But before we get ready to wrap up, I want to ask you a couple of questions I normally ask guests that I have on here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, kind of going back to like some of what we've been talking about with, you know, where we're at as a whole as society. What class do you feel should be mandatory before you graduate high school today?
Class. Ugh. I mean, definitely. Well, definitely reading and you know, math skills.
Yeah.
You know, you always need that. Definitely reading. I mean, it's funny because sometimes I'll see stuff on social media, a certain post, and you know, not that I'm trying to be an English professor, but I'm like,
Yeah.
did they really mean to, you know, write it out like that?
Yeah.
And even
yeah.
with like some of the younger generations, some stuff that they post that they troll,
Yeah.
it's like, you know, just just big gaps, you know.
It's like, yeah, I mean, my grammar is not always the best on there, but it's just like, man, if you're really going to try and make a, you know, yeah. And it was going back to like that thing that I was saying that poll about like, you know, interview skills and stuff
Mhm.
like that, man. It's just like a lot of these kids can't read, and then they're doing everything on their phone. Their phone's doing everything for them, basic math skills.
Yeah.
Dude, there's going to be a time, probably in our lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
where all this electronic stuff is just going to be obsolete.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be running around like cavemen trying to spark rocks to create fire again. You know, these kids are not going to know what the hell they're going to, you know, do, man. And it's scary how dependent they are. It's like, I've been on my own daughters. It's like, look, man, you got it every day. You should read something. Here's a book, read something, you know.
Mhm.
It's just like, you can't just read an article about Justin Bieber on your phone or whatever, man. You know, it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you see the bookshelf I have here. I got books all over the house, and they're like,
Yeah.
man, why you got so many books? You don't read all those. And it's like, I haven't read them all, you know,
Mhm.
but I've always been kind of like a collector, but I know I can read them, you know, if I tune myself off of everything else, is like, I just think there's going to be a time where you're going to need, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, I remember as a kid, man, the person delivered the Encyclopedia Britannicas. You know, your parents would have to order that if they wanted you to do better in school.
Yeah.
You know, there was no Google and stuff. You know, you have to go through
Exactly.
the encyclopedias and stuff and learn that. So I don't know, man. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If one thing I wish they probably would have taught us, you know, in school, particularly high school, that I would suggest in this day and age is, you know, financial management.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, it's like, of course, you know, a lot of people, they get grown, they have jobs, this, that, and the other, they're making money, but don't know anything about, you know, filing taxes.
Yeah. Yep.
You know,
Yeah, dude, that's the number one answer I get when I ask that question.
Yeah.
You know, and that should say something. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, they don't want us to know because then they could take more from us.
Right.
And if we're not saving or investing and whatever,
Yeah.
you know, we're just living paycheck to paycheck. It's easy to,
Yeah.
you know, but
Yeah. You definitely have to know how to count your money.
yeah,
You know, even if you work at a fast food restaurant, you got to know how to count money.
yep.
Yeah. Cause this, you know, there's been plenty of stories. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
you order something and it'd be like 10:01. So it's like, you know, you'll give them the 1 cent
Yeah.
and they're just confused.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this ain't computing to what, you know, the machine is, you know, supposed to distribute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they just, you know, just kind of lose it behind that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's important to know exactly how to manage the money.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then, who are 3 people who've inspired you and you can credit for making you the person you are today?
I had to pick 3 people. You know, a lot of it I point to, you know, my mom is one, you know, just the thing that I recognize with my mom is, you know, she's definitely headstrong, which at times it could be a good and a bad thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, she's just been so resilient over the years. You know, that kind of, a lot of that drive, you know, comes from what I picked up from her. You know, like coming up as a kid, she's always motivated me because, you know, with my whole upbringing, you know, good majority of the time I spent in school, I was an honor student, believe it or not. By the time I got to 10th, 11th grade, that's when I got stupid. I wanted to lift weights and, you know, talk to girls.
Yeah. Yeah. Our hormones kick in.
Yeah, you know.
And the blood starts going from the brain somewhere else. You know,
Yeah,
the brain.
because, you know, being part of that program, I definitely spent a lot of time studying while, you know, my peers were outside.
Yeah.
You know, so it was like I kind of missed that element other than, you know, summertime. You know, that was my time to do all of that. But, you know, she gave me the drive and, you know, she took us to church. So one interesting fact that, you know, in relation to my mom, right after I graduated from boot camp, I came home for 2 weeks, and this was before I was supposed to caught the ship that I was going on. So I left probably just like that Saturday before Christmas. I flew out to Italy, and I got to Sigonella, Italy, and a couple of days after that, you know, they located where my ship was. So picked me up in the helicopter, dropped me off at the ship. So coincidentally, which I find out maybe a week and a half later, like that same day, which it was 2 days before Christmas, my mom had a massive heart attack. Yeah. And, you know, she didn't tell me until, you know, I pulled into Naples and called home. But, you know, she was like, well, you know, I didn't want to worry you, you know.
Yeah, because the Red Cross would have then sent you right back, you know, and all that.
Yeah, but I guess she told one of my aunts that, you know, of course, if she wasn't resuscitated in 24 hours, then they called me.
Mm.
But that happened well over 30 years ago, and she's still around.
Yeah.
So just her determination and drive, that kind of inspired me, to where I'm the same way. I think on my father's end, I have a lot more of his toughness, some of his coolness, but his toughness.
Yeah.
But other than that, I would look at both of my grandfathers as far as 2 and 3.
Mm.
The biggest thing that I encountered with them was when I moved back to Cleveland in 2001. Of course, I was going through my separation, about to get divorced. My grandfather on my father's side, I was able to connect with him. He was actually a deacon at Gethsemane Baptist Church, which a lot of my father's side of the family, they were members, and he was a deacon. My grandmother was head of the deacon board, for the women. She was the chairwoman. He was the chairman. And I had another uncle that was a deacon as well. So that kind of inspired me because, now, I'm in the church. I've been a deacon for 15 years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, that was definitely part of my inspiration there. But when I came to Cleveland, first thing I did was I joined the church. I used to go over and cut his hair. He had a bald head too, and a lot of people will look at us and they'll say, "Well, you're gonna look like your grandfather is what you'll look like as an older man."
Yeah.
So I would go shave his head, but I had my time to talk to him, so that kind of helped me in the divorce. And then later on, like a couple of years after I moved here, my grandfather, Mr. McBride, he came in from Mississippi.
Mm.
So, we spent a lot of time together. There was a time just naturally being divorced. I lived with my mom for, just a few years. So, when he moved in, we had a lot of conversation, and that's actually the example. I was talking about as far as men getting that counseling.
Yeah.
It definitely helps.
Oh yeah.
And
for sure.
it helped as much to where I was able to eventually find another wife.
Yeah.
And now this upcoming October, we be married 18 years, believe it or not.
Amen.
Yeah. So, I look at those people and even now,
and that's how you stay married, because you seek counsel.
Yeah. But
it's like, I know for me, man, staying in my own head, man, can be a dangerous place. So that's why I need to get in other people's heads.
Yeah.
To realize hey, man, maybe handle it this way, handle things this way.
Yeah, but I'll say, as far as my inspiration, those three, both my grandfathers and my mom, I mean, as far as the most, because, now, I mean, my mom's still here.
Yeah.
But both of my grandfathers are gone. So, now that I'm married, I have my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, which they're both pastors.
Okay.
So I kind of, lean on them from time to time, as far as like receiving like that spiritual advice from them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I credit them as well. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then any message that you have for our brothers and sisters that are currently serving overseas?
Well, I would just say, stay focused. Just, serving, one of the upsides of serving is, other than like striving to complete a mission, there's some time on your hands where you have time to think. I would just stay the course, have a certain vision in mind, as far as what you want for your career, and even in the future, once, you're done with the military, just to continue to have that focus and that vision. That would be my advice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gotcha. Man, Carl, dude, it was good having you on, brother. It was good talking. I mean, it's, you're saying we would have our experiences together in the military, and we'd share a lot, of jokes and funny stuff. But, I love having these conversations too, because I got to learn more about you as a man as well, and, heighten, raise, my respect even more for you. And I'm proud to call you a brother and a friend. And, thanks for doing this with me today, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you having,
Yeah, of course, man.
Not too many times I'm able to share my life story.
Yeah.
Other than just general conversation, but as far as like publicly like this, not too many times.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm this thing has been like part of my healing and therapy. Doing this, as part of my, I guess, spiritual calling, and learning, living life sober now, it helps me with my communication and just, establishing normal relationships with people,
Yeah.
But man, I appreciate you being on. Before we wrap up, I got one last favor. I asked of all my veterans on the show that you cut a promo ID for the show, and that's like basically, introduce yourself as your, the last rank you held, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
Okay, so this is Ian Carl McBride, and you're listening to the Boondoggle Show with Bill Bailey.
Awesome. Carl, thanks a lot, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Oh, no problem, man.
Good
Anytime.
hanging with you. We'll definitely get that reunion thing set up here soon.
Oh,
man,
yeah, definitely.
All right, brother.